Good evening. I'd like to call the City Council special meeting of Tuesday, July 25th to order. And first on the agenda, we have approval of the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Before we start our public comment, we have lost another community member. So I'd like to have a moment of silence for Jerome Arnold. If everyone could join me in that. Thank you. Okay, so is there anyone that would like to make public comment this evening? No one in the audience? Okay, is there anyone online that would like to make public comment? Okay. Last chance. Great, moving right along. Okay, so first on the agenda, we have a public hearing and ordinance. And this is a public hearing for the purpose of considering vacation 2301, a CETA request on behalf of the city of Cannon Beach, a street vacation in order to construct a covered entrance canopy and provide space for required off-street parking. At this time, pursuant to ORS 271-1.110, I will open the public hearing in order to give any interested party a chance to comment on the vacation request. Staff, please present your report.
Mr. Maloney, I think the public comment will be after I do my report.
I'll wait, in other words.
Yes,
Yes, okay, sorry.
sure.
But
Thank
you can
you.
take a seat, relax.
Enjoy the presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It should be good.
It'll be something else. Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. May 1st, 2023, CETA, and CETA is our architectural firm for this project, requested on behalf of the city of Cannon Beach, a street vacation in order to construct a covered entrance canopy and provide space for required off-street parking at the former Cannon Beach Elementary School. The vacation is intended to remedy issues relating to pedestrian safety and to provide a location for off-street parking to be provided at that property. At the May 25th, 2023 meeting, the Planning Commission unanimously voted to recommend to the City Council the approval of the partial vacation of Beaver Street public right-of-way. That was vacation number 23-01. A public hearing has been scheduled, and this is for today, for July 25th, 2023. Under ORS, which is the Oregon Code 271.130, a city can initiate a street vacation using a process similar to the one provided for members of the public. However, unlike members of the public, when the city is the applicant, it is not required to obtain the consent from all abutting property owners or the consent of more than 2/3 of the property owners in the affected area. However, the city is required to provide notice of the vacation and public hearing under ORS 271.110. To that end, the city has provided notice to all property owners in the affected area and is not aware of nor anticipates any objections to the vacation. Because the proposed vacation will impact road access for two property owners, the city has negotiated non-exclusive road access easements with these property owners to ensure their continued access to Beaver Street. These easements will be executed once the vacation occurs. ORS 271.130(1) requires the city to consider if the vacation will substantially affect property values of any abutting properties. Particularly with the easement in place, the city has no evidence the vacation will impact property values. The purpose of the hearing is to take the testimony on this matter, including impact on affected and abutting property owners, and whether the property interests will be prejudiced by the vacation. You have in the plans, and I took my packet apart, so I'm sorry, but it is this drawing. And Rusty, if you can, yeah.
You want this,
pull it up.
either one, or do you want the,
That's this one, if you can get it.
that one?
Okay, yes.
I have that one.
Okay. The right of way is 50 feet. And so what we were talking about is taking 18 feet, leaving 32 feet.
20 feet,
Pardon?
20 feet.
20?
You just go by it?
I think it's after the deeds. That one.
But anyway, that leaves us enough for the minimum requirements for 2 lanes for Beaver Street, which was something we were trying to maintain. Does anybody in the council have any questions? This is all according to the plans that were presented and that tentatively approved. So this would execute some of or would execute the vacation of the property on Beaver Street so that we could move forward. Everybody
And
understand?
this is just the right of way that
It's just the right
we're
of way,
vacating.
yes.
And it still allows room for two lanes then.
Yes,
And still the same number of parking spaces.
it'll do 8. And they're shown on there next to the, what is actually the easement that we're talking about tonight.
Any other questions?
Just a quick one about the easement.
Sure.
Will there be some type of fence there or anything to keep people from parking on it? I guess
It'll be,
the easement's there to allow.
the easement is here to allow access to this property and to the back of this property.
Just so it just stays the same.
Yes, exactly. That's what we were trying to maintain.
Okay.
Any other questions? Is there any interested party wishing to comment on the vacation request? Okay,
More than
come on up.
Carmen Swigert.
And your mailing address, please.
PO Box 214, Sano Beach.
Thank you.
And I am close to it, but I would like for you to explain to me, I haven't been involved in it because of my life, very busy. How is it gonna look? I was looking at the map. What do you call it, the vacation? What is it? Is it gonna be covered? If you could explain to me, just tell me exactly how is it gonna look? I couldn't really make it out. That part, yes. Yes, so what is gonna be, what is it the part that you guys are gonna change?
The elevations. We'll try to get you something, Carmen, we'll show it. But in the meantime,
Have you seen the archaeology that's going on there right now?
No. No. I know that I look at this, the information and I try to figure it out. I'm the only one running my business, so I'm absolutely busy.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
want to take that down? Is it?
Well, let me
Okay.
get to the actual plans.
okay, now I understand. Okay, that's more or less, so it's an out, you're gonna cover, but it's
Yes.
not gonna impede the traffic.
No, what'll happen is the road will move.
These actually have the old,
Drums.
yeah,
Okay, never mind that, because that doesn't have that on there. It'll move the road to the south.
Okay, now I get it. That's more or less what I thought, but I just wanted to confirm.
Right.
So that maybe you guys want to cover the whole thing.
Oh, no.
No, okay, that was my only question.
Okay.
still the
So
same,
it's clear to me now.
90 degrees, right? The parking rotated from 45 to a 90. That was the only major change on that view.
No, but it doesn't show the cover.
Yeah, that's it right here.
Okay, all right, you're right.
Yeah, I understand it now.
Okay,
Okay.
Yes.
any other questions?
No,
Sure.
thanks. Thank you very much.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Okay. You want to come up?
Good evening. My name is Bob Maloney. I am the main owner and manager of Sequoia Investments LLC. And it is the owner of 379 and 381 North Spruce Street. And 379 Spruce Street has their exclusive access on Beaver Street, and that's why this easement is important to us. I want to start though by thanking Mr. St. Clair and his colleagues and staff, they've done a wonderful job working with us to go through this various process, which is new to me, frankly. What I would like to do is to, and I've handed out to you a copy of what we filed, but I think it might be easier to show you the significance of the easement and how it actually is not just for our ingress and egress, but of how it is also involves the city, public utilities, and the public. If you look at the first exhibit, which is Exhibit A, this gentleman over here about a fence or whatever to keep people from parking in it. We've asked to have a parking sign similar to the sign that is there. This is located directly across the street on Beaver Street, where the easement is located. And in connection with the discussions, they asked if we would pay for the sign, and I said, no, to work this out with you, we'll pay for the sign on the easement. So next photograph, which is Exhibit B. If you look at the lower left, you'll see a yellow marker. That marks the edge of our property. Maybe all of you know that's the city's school fence. So if you extended a line from that yellow marker to the right, you would have within that line the easement area. So then the question is, well, what is in the easement? Well, the telephone pole, that other utility, the green box there, and then to the right of the sewer. Then to expand that, Exhibit C shows you the sewer. Then to the right, you see the storm drain. That's also within the easement. And then everything to the left of this photo, going up to about that storm drain, is in the easement. So you'll see that there's a parked car there. The only way that parked car can be there, and it will be there after this is constructed and everything for the school. The only way that car can get there is it has to drive over the easement and park there. So the points that I'm making out is, in connection with your due diligence, is this isn't just for two homeowners and our guests and invitees and so forth. It is for a public use that has been in existence for the 50 years. I'm a little older than all of you. 50 years that I've owned the property, and I've seen people park there and walk along that area and ride their bikes. Wave, they're all friendly and everything. So all that will continue with respect to the easement. And so I'm only pointing that out so that that we're all involved in that as well. I guess the final point is that our council has worked with your council, and we've agreed on the terms of the easement, which to me look pretty ordinary, regular, what you would expect. And they provide that basically the city is going to continue to maintain and take care of ordinary wear and tear. And if somehow we or our invitees do some damage to it, we're going to repair that ourselves. That's all written into it. So just in final conclusion, our council has asked me to read into the record that in the event the city council doesn't approve the easement that we have worked out together with the city, we preserve the arguments that we made in the record to the planning commission hearing with respect to the street vacation. We don't object at all to the city going ahead with this project. I think it's going to be a wonderful project, and I'm looking forward to being able to go over there and use it like we used to do when we had the haystack programs out in the schoolyard. Yeah, so that's it. Any questions or anything?
I'd like to thank you for your spirit of cooperation.
Oh, yeah. And the planning commission, it was the same way. I mean, it makes it very nice. And that sign, be respectful and kind, is.
Thank you, Robert.
So if you have no questions, I will allow you to continue your important business. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thanks for.
Very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, so if there's no further discussion, I will close the public hearing at this time and move to consideration. Anything further from staff?
Jen, can I ask you to explain how the voting, what the voting date will be for both the easement and for the ordinance?
The ordinance. So because I forgot to post the ordinance, my apologies. The ordinance will actually be on the August 1st meeting, which is next Tuesday. So since the easement and the ordinance go hand in hand, we'll just do both the ordinance and the easement at the August 1st meeting. And the ordinance was posted today.
Any questions?
I have oh, go ahead.
You go ahead, Nancy.
I do have a question on, as I understand it, this easement is to allow access for the people who own the property to park in front of the house. Is that right?
No, it's to allow us to go over the easement and to park on our property.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking. What prevents others from parking on that property?
What's that?
I mean, what prevents people like going to the Nakus Center? What keeps them from parking on that property so that you're
Well,
don't want to
fine.
block you?
If you have a no parking sign, that's why we asked to have a no parking sign there. So that will prevent it.
Then how will you, if you park there with a no parking sign there?
We won't park in that. We are not going to park in the easement.
Oh, okay,
The easement is strictly for people to come and go.
okay,
There is parking on our property
okay,
and the adjoining property. We have two designated parking spots on ours that the city has approved. And there are two on the Jaffe's property right next door.
so,
So nobody is supposed to park
Okay.
in the easement.
all right,
Good question.
okay.
Brandon, did you have a question?
Yeah, Jan. So, since we're essentially moving the voting on the ordinance to next week, it needs to be, passed by a unanimous vote.
Yeah, so we're gonna do the
No.
twice by title like we
Yes.
normally do. And so if we, because we couldn't do that tonight.
Yes.
So we'll do it next week. We'll read it twice by title. And if it passes unanimously, the first one, we'll go to the second one.
Gotcha.
If it doesn't pass unanimously, we'll bring it back to a second meeting, which is what we're similar to the food tax.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Guess there's nothing else we need to do. Right?
No motion.
Nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah, if you had any questions or concerns about anything, we can here to address them.
Let me ask Ashley. Ashley, is there anything else the council needs to do tonight? And Ashley is our attorney.
Good evening, Ashley Driscoll, City Attorney's Office. Nope, there are a couple items on the agenda for when we're considering the ordinance, just to ensure that the council has considered them. These are statutory requirements such as that the proper notice was given, that you'd considered the impact on abutting property owners, et cetera. But that can be done next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Nothing further on that? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so next we have ordinance 2305, an ordinance amending the municipal code chapter 3.30 prepared food sales tax.
Okay, and this one is also me. So Ashley Driscoll, City Attorney's Office. This is the second reading of an ordinance amending the city's prepared food tax, which I believe is chapter 3.30. We considered the merits of this amendment at the last council meeting. Essentially, what we have been doing is making tweaks to our prepared food tax since it came into effect a little bit over a year ago. The council has been discussing whether or not food purchased from vendors at the Cannon Beach Farmers Market should be exempted from the prepared food tax. At the last council meeting, the vote was 3-2 in favor of the amendment. And as we just discussed, that brings us to a second reading. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions? Okay, we're ready to move on. Like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'm still where I'm at on this. So I move to approve the second reading and adopt ordinance number 23-05.
Second.
Okay, so ordinance 2305 and ordinance amending the municipal code, chapter 3.30, prepared food stock sales tax. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Counselor Kerr,
Yes.
Counselor Ogilvy,
No.
Council President McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
No. Okay, so the ordinance number 2305 has been adopted and will become effective 30 days from adoption. Thank you. Next, we're going to move to a discussion of the scope of review for Red Crow LLC, Jamie Lerma, appeal of a planning commission decision to reverse administrative decision to issue a tree removal permit. Robert?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, Robert St. Clair, planner with Community Development Department. This is a scope of review determination for Red Crow LLC, Jamie Lerma, appeal of a planning commission decision to reverse an administrative decision to issue a tree removal permit. The planning commission affirmed the appeal of the administrative decision to approve a tree removal permit in conjunction with construction at 743 North Ash Street at its May 25th and June 22nd, 2023 regularly scheduled meetings. Jamie Lerma of Red Crow LLC, on behalf of Jacqueline Bennett, requested a review of the decision in an application received on July 11th, 2023, within the 14 consecutive day appeal period from June 28th, the date the orders for administrative appeal 2304 were signed. The City Council is currently holding a scope of review hearing to discuss this as a non-public item under the terms under which it wishes to review the matter according to section 1788-160 of the municipal code. The City Council shall use the application and request for review under the guidance of 1788-140 and 150 to inform their decision on whether to restrict the review to the record before the Planning Commission, limited to additional materials it feels are warranted, de novo, to remand the matter to the Planning Commission for additional consideration. The applicant has requested an on-the-record review, and the next available public hearing meeting notice requirements will be August 8th of this year.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So if it was on the record, would we be able to take any public testimony? Or is that foreclosed if it's on the record?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Maybe Ashley does?
That would be a bill question. My understanding of it is that there could be no new evidence, but potentially new arguments. But as I'm saying that, I do think that we should check with Bill before moving forward on that.
I'm checking. See if I
My
can.
understanding is that no new written material would be able to be provided. There may be opportunities for members of the public to speak and make comments, but we'll confirm that.
Yeah, and in the past, that's how we typically handle it. They can speak, but not.
Okay.
Present new material. Any other questions while we're waiting for a phone call? Those will just wait to hear from us.
Because that would make all the difference in how what I would like to see.
You know, any good jokes or anything?
Oh, wait. Oh, I have to do.
I only question the date.
August 8th.
Yeah, that's maybe it's gonna be an intense packet for us.
That would be the earliest available date. It could be at a different date.
So on the August 8th meeting, it is definitely much shorter than the August 1st one, as far as amount of materials on it. And so there are some items that we had on our agenda that will probably get pushed back because there are things like the TSP priorities and some of the other discussions that are bigger discussions that we wanted to have some time to, get a handle on everything. So we do have outdoor dining discussion, 120-day deadline discussion, the TSP priorities and affordable housing, or housing from retreats. But like I said, some of those we might want to get some more information together before we talk about it. And then at the previous meeting in July, we talked about having a council discussion on short-term rentals, but we might want to push that back until after the committee met. And then we can get their information from the committee and then have that discussion as well. So a couple of these might.
And has there been a short-term meeting scheduled? That committee?
Did it get scheduled? I know that Elvis been working on it.
Okay.
So the plan was for them to have a meeting in August and then they can present information to you in September. So that's where we were thinking that one discussion about short-term rentals might be better to have after they've met when they give you the information.
The big problem with that, though, is that now the short-term rental committee, with me off of it as a homeowner and citizen, is now not balanced again. Now it has far, representation by community members is no longer adequate.
So initially we had, I don't remember the exact amount of numbers of active participants, and then we had a couple members as alternates. And I believe that with you not being on it, that takes our last alternates. And so that was the whole purpose of having alternates, was if somebody left, they would.
So you have a new alternate now?
So we would have whatever, I believe there was one alternate left, that person would then take that position and then we would advertise for new alternates.
Okay.
And Ashley has her hand up, so. Ashley, would you like to speak?
I would. So have we heard from Bill?
No.
Okay, so I called one of our land use attorneys to verify my understanding. So if it's on the record, you can have public testimony, but no new evidence. And I believe that that is what Jen said that you guys have done in the past.
Yeah.
Jen, is that accurate?
Good.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have a bill stamp of approval on that one, but that was my understanding. It was just verified by one of our land use attorneys.
Thank you,
Okay,
Ashley.
good.
Okay,
I'm good with on the record. My only concern still is that date, our August 8th packet is a truckload.
so we probably need to move something off of that.
So, just my thoughts, the 120-day deadline discussion, the TSP priorities and affordable housing were ones that we wanted to see to get really involved with. So those would be the ones, and the STR one, that I would suggest pushing back. So if you guys are in agreement with that, that would definitely, let me highlight those. So then what we would have left is the outdoor dining discussion, which we do want to talk about before it lights or sunsets. And then RV park housing from the retreat. So that was a retreat topic we talked about. We wanted to start the discussion of that, and we'd selected August. And so that leaves the appeal.
Okay. That sounds reasonable.
So subject to change.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
So Lisa, are you saying keep all those things on the agenda?
No,
No, move them.
what Jen just
Move them.
said.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have already noticed this meeting, so it is set to go for August 8th. If you did want to bump it, we would need to just renotice it. I don't know off the top of my head the deadline, we had discussions with Bill on whether or not this fit under the 120-day deadline or not, and I don't remember what the resolution was with that.
But I would prefer to keep that.
Just keep it.
Topic
I would
on
too.
the August 8th and move.
Yeah.
Anybody have any suggestions as to what to move to a future meeting out of those items?
Well, I think you mentioned STRs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay,
So STR, let's definitely put on September. So that way we can have the wrap up from the committee. Oh, I already had it on there, task force update and discussion. So I already moved that to September. I just kept it on the old one. And then the other items, which were more big planning items, we can try to go for September on that, because it is by then, I think we've been, community development's had some chance to get used to things and maybe have some time to do some research.
Yeah. Okay, everybody okay with that?
Mhm.
Okay, so we're going on review. I mean, on the record. And public comment will be allowed.
That sounds.
I have
Okay.
one question
Okay,
before we move on. Robert? What type of, since this isn't exactly a land use decision, or is it? Do we have an 120-day clock to follow, or is it something different?
It's an interesting question. I've heard a couple different interpretations of it because it's not a typical land use decision, but it is under Title 17. So I believe the latest from Bill is he's suggesting we treat it under the 120-day rule.
Okay. Got no problem with that. I'm just trying to think of a reason why we'd want to do something other than the on the record review.
I can't think of any.
Okay. All right, I'm fine with that as well.
okay, so we're all okay with that?
Mhm.
Great,
Yes.
okay. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're ready for good of the order. Bruce?
My items are short, two of them are just announcements. One, at the last meeting or two ago, council directed staff to write a letter to the grant people and say, you know, could we get a $5,000 grant from you to do things manually? And that letter was sent. We've not heard back yet. It's just whether or not they'll give us the grant.
You're referring to the weed eradication?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Also, I just received a notice from North Coast Land Conservancy to come and pull purple loosestrife from one of their properties. So they are not, it appears that they are doing it by hand.
Okay, so we asked for the funds to do it
okay.
annually. All right. Any other comments? I'm sorry, Councilor?
No, I have some more stuff for the good of the order, but I'll wait till you're done. Yeah.
The archaeology work will be done this Thursday. There were no, I guess it's good news, bad news. There were no major fines. What that means is that the potential impacts to the project are limited, or more limited. But on the other side, there's information that is still being kept hidden. So that's where we are in the archaeology. And the third one is we're trying to get a meeting set up for August 7th with TAC. And my question is, are we ready for that meeting? Because I know that we've had some discussions about TAC funds and those kind of things. And I don't think that we'll be able to provide you with information to give you a good base to have a discussion in the timeframe available. So do we want to do that and then not have the information? Or do we want to wait for a date we can have the information? And remember, this is Bruce here trying to go ahead and get you out of another meeting.
No, you're delaying a meeting.
What kind of information?
Yeah,
Yeah, which information specific?
The amount that's been collected, the amount that's collected on a regular basis, the amount in balances, contract requirements, those kind of things.
contract.
But we have a contract with the chamber.
But is
No.
that part of the TAC? That's
Or-
part of TAC.
No, but it was about, my understanding, it was about TLT.
It's a greater conversation about TLT.
Right. Right. And so having the meeting just with TAC, I didn't know if we were really ready for that or if we were going to get what we wanted out of it, as opposed to having more of a fuller study of the whole subject.
Yeah, I would like to look at that whole subject
I would
with
too.
that information before the tech
Okay.
conversation.
Okay.
I guess to back into it, I would prefer to not have a meeting where we didn't have the information.
Exactly,
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. But we don't want to delay it too long.
we won't.
Just along what you're talking about, the email that you sent today about the short-term rentals,
Yes.
is that by any chance part of that discussion? Or was that for a different, I just wasn't sure.
Different. No, it was different. We were talking about the short-term rentals. That was information that I just got from community development today. And I found it interesting because I remember the numbers were higher. Probably about a year and a half ago. So now we're down to 205 total.
And the transient that's at 45, what does that mean?
That's the 5-year, that's the unlimited rentals that are grandfathered in.
Those go away,
Once they sell.
say,
Because they run with the
So-
person,
Sunset.
and or deceased.
right?
Yeah,
They run with the person.
But it can't be, if the property is passed to their heirs,
They can keep it.
no.
No,
Because it's a change of ownership.
right.
So when
Take a look at the ordinance, because I remember a major discussion about that several years ago. And if it was within the family, they could keep it. But if they the ownership transferred outside of the family, then they could not.
my understanding was you can, like, if you could add a person, but you couldn't remove a person, or no, you could remove a person, but couldn't add a person. So we can double check.
Yeah, I think that's what that meeting will be about. It's being clear about all that.
Yeah, I think you should check that.
Oh, yeah.
My understanding is different than yours, Nancy.
What's that?
My understanding is a bit different than you.
So's mine.
I'm a bit fuzzy on it too, but
Okay.
I don't think we need to.
But I agree with you that we should,
We'll get you an answer.
I'm sorry to sidetrack that, but
No.
thank you.
Well, that was related. So we want to delay that meeting.
Yes.
That meeting being TAC or
The one, the August
Till we have-
7th meeting with TAC.
Until we have full, all the range of information we need.
Well,
We'll
I think-
have that information on a workshop at some point.
one thing that I think we need to do is to kind of clarify what information we want and need to work with.
Do you have a clear understanding of that, Bruce? What information we want? Or do you need us to give you some suggestions on this topic? Let me clarify.
I think we do. Essentially, we'll give you all the information that we have for the entities, including the city that collects and uses TLT funds. So we want to give you the broad picture on. So I think that we would be giving you. Now, if anybody comes up with something and you say, make sure that you tell us about this, we'll go ahead and we'll add that. But the idea is that you get the broad spectrum. You know, even though I don't think we were planning on talking about city funds or the funds that the city uses in the general fund, but we'll just give you that information so you have relative numbers that, you know, we have. That's how much the city is currently keeping and putting in general fund.
I think it's the tourism dedicated dollars, that 70% portion that
Okay.
we'd like to see.
Okay.
I would like to see.
I'd like to get a little bit more of an overview of
Okay.
the general funds
Yeah.
aspect of it as well.
Right. So how long are we delaying it?
I don't know. It's a matter of when we're getting, right now, the audit's going on. I've got to work with Lori.
Okay,
But we'll get it as soon as we can.
okay.
Okay, I'll let them know. And it works right because I haven't heard back from everyone anyway, so we'll let them know that we'll have it in the future.
Okay.
Okay.
In the near future.
Near future.
Yeah, we don't want to delay.
Yeah, very near.
Okay, Bruce, you have anything else?
No, those are my three. Thank you.
Okay,
I have
Lisa?
things, yeah. The first one is I'd like to know, we as a council made a rule, I thought, that if you missed 2 commission meetings or council meetings unexcused, by which means just no show, you know, not saying I'm going to be somewhere, I can't make it this day, just no show, that 2 of those and you were off, that was my recollection. Am I wrong about that?
You're right.
Okay, so I noticed that at the last meeting that 2 meetings that one of the members of the planning commission, Eric Ostrander, was not there and no one seemed to know why. I don't know if who is he supposed to contact? Is he supposed to contact the council? Is he supposed to contact the chair of the planning commission? And did he?
Are you talking about the last two planning commission meetings or?
No, they weren't.
Audit?
They were, one was the meeting with all of us
Audit?
Yeah, about the code audit. And I don't remember what the one before it was, if it was just planning or if it was code audit as well. But I'm just curious. I'm not trying to call anybody out. I'm just trying to understand. If we're going to have a rule, we have to follow it. And if we're not going to follow it, then let's get rid of the rule. And so I'm trying to figure out first of all, if you're not going to be able to attend, who do you tell? Do you tell your chairman or do you call Bruce or who do you let know? We need to have a procedure in place. And I noticed also at the last code audit meeting, there was a member of Design Review Board who also wasn't there for
Jen
the
Yee
meeting.
doesn't seem to show up. Jen Yee
Yeah,
talking about, yeah.
right. And so,
No
I
idea.
mean, I don't know. Maybe she contacted Design Review but no one said anything. So it just was, it wasn't like, well, Eric's going to be absent tonight. He's on a trip or nothing. It just, so I think that if we're going to have a rule, we have to follow through with it.
And then we also need to remind the committees of the proper procedure. So what is the procedure?
Yeah, what do we want?
Okay, so typically what happens is if somebody's not gonna make it, they contact the staff liaison. So if it was planning, they would contact Robert, Emily, or Steve. Any of the other, they would contact whoever the main contact person is. Our code is written that a member of the I pulled up planning commission just as an example. The language is the same for all of them.
Yeah.
A member of the planning commission may be removed by the city council after a hearing for misconduct or the non-performance of a duty. A member who is absent for 2 meetings in a calendar year without an approved excuse is presumed to be in non-performance of duty, and council shall declare the position vacant. So we do have a situation where a committee has requested council to declare a position vacant. And I have an email into Ashley to find out the proper steps to do that because it's something that would go to council to make a final decision. So I do have an email into her about, how do we handle this? What's the steps to do to make sure we're doing it all the right way? So in that situation, though, the committee was the one that made the recommendation to say, hey, this person hasn't been coming. Let's see about removing them from office.
So there has been, am I hearing this right? There has already been a committee that has said this person has not shown, this occurrence has already occurred, right?
It's in the process right now.
Okay.
So I emailed Ashley just to say, hey, this is the first time we've ever done this. What steps do we take? Do we, does the chair contact the person first? Do we give them a chance to resign? Do we just take it to council? It's uncharted territory. But we did change that rule, and I don't know if it's something that, and we would have to ask Ashley, does the commission or committee have to make the recommendation to council? Can council say, hey, contact planning commission to confirm that these are unexcused absence and then you can take steps from that? I'm not sure. Is Ashley still on?
No, she dropped off.
So I have to follow up with her anyway on my other
Okay,
one, so
so
I'll
just
ask
find
her
out.
if it could be a
Yeah.
council initiative or if it needs to come from the committee.
Okay, and of course, if something drastic had happened in the person's life that was just, then, that's a whole different discussion,
Right.
and that would be understandable. But if it's just, I don't feel like going, I'm not going to tell anybody, well, it's a different matter.
And then when we're clear on the process, we'll do some kind of communication to all boards and commissions so that chairs are aware and members are aware.
And occasionally, somebody will contact the chair and not staff, but the chair is really good about letting staff know, like so-and-so called me, they're not going to make it. But typically they contact staff and sometimes the chair at the same time.
Okay,
Yeah, so I will get back to you guys. I need to follow up with Ashley anyways, and I will let you know.
Great. Thank you.
okay. And then the second issue, I've received a lot of emails recently about water quality from the outflows onto the beach. And I'm not sure who's monitoring that, where it stands right now. Is it safe or not safe? I've heard, at least from a member of Surfrider, that it's above the acceptable levels now, but I don't know if that's the case or not. And I'm wondering does anybody know what's going on with that?
DEQ is who does the testing. And our testing has been good. Our numbers go up as do most when we have a sudden rainfall. So if you're saying that they're high now, that would not surprise me. I would expect them to be normal within a day or two.
No, this was a couple weeks ago, so that's,
Weeks ago. I don't know why.
It's just Sonic Creek, yeah, and it got the all clear within 2 days.
Yeah.
okay.
Down,
Yeah,
which is typically.
So currently, there's no alerts.
none that I know of.
But some bad press on the
Oh, really
the
bad.
worst beaches,
Nye Beach,
poopiest beaches.
Yeah,
yeah. Nye Beach seems to get it frequently.
And there's also a delay in the testing, like they pull the sample, but you don't get the results until the next day. And so that could have already cleared up by the time that they say that the beach has a high reading. So you put your sign up and then they test the next day, but it takes another day to get that reading to tell them it's all clear. So there's always been a little lag.
okay. And also, I have also gotten emails about, well, about the Hamid House on Laurel and how did that happen? Because looks like it takes up about 90% of the lot. And so I wondered, I did make a public records request a while back, and I really looked at the plans for the house. And I can explain how it happened. And I just wondered if maybe at the next meeting from the good of the order, I could just draw on a piece of paper on the board to I could show you exactly in 5 minutes how they were able to do that. And there's something in our code that permits that to happen. And so people can start thinking about how they'd like to see, what kind of changes they'd like to see in the code to stop that from happening again. Because right now we have a bulkhead on that lot. And it's very daunting. And I've actually had people from out of town ask me too. And I'm like, well,
So would you be willing to do that?
Yes.
Artwork at the next code audit?
sure, I'd love
Yeah,
to.
it'd be
Yeah,
nice to have
and it'd only take 5 minutes. I'll
Yeah.
just do a sketch because I really was very struck by how it happened. And it's totally legal within our code for that to, it would be very, very clever on the part of the architect.
Yeah, I've been hearing complaints about that.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
Practice your artwork before the
yeah,
next
oh,
code.
I
audit
don't have to
meeting.
practice.
Oh, okay. I have to practice. Okay, anything else, Lisa?
No.
Okay, next.
I do have an item.
Okay.
So last night, the Cannon Beach Elementary Rejuvenation Research and Advisory Committee met for, I don't know, 4th or 5th time. And we have, as a committee, we have an approved recommendation for the use of the facility. We have an approved recommendation for how the facility will be managed. And we have really just a start of an operational budget. So that was our mission as an advisory committee. And we're ready to present that to council when appropriate. And look at next steps. And
Right.
some of the next steps are probably looking at either continuing the committee or forming a steering committee. A good group of the committee is interested in continuing on the steering committee. We kind of did a broad stroke on these things, so there's lots of little details to work out. And that will be the next step. So we need to present that to council and get your approval and some direction on steps moving forward.
How about the 8th?
Yes.
But what I hear you saying, Gary, is any time from now.
We're ready to go.
ready to go
Yeah,
for
I'd
the
like to hear it
Well,
as soon
that's
as possible.
fantastic. Thank
Yeah.
you for your
Did
work.
a great job.
Yeah.
And thank you, Gary, for chairing.
Yeah, did a really nice job.
It's nice to come to a
You
meeting.
have enough to do, don't you?
Yeah. I like to delegate.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Do you want it on the 8th?
Ah,
Or I mean, reading,
No,
Okay.
no, I think we're the 8th, that's fine.
Let's take a look at the 8th.
Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah, because what I heard, there was like 3 or 4 items left and we can usually.
They've been moved.
That's
Right.
true.
Right, but that left not a whole lot.
Okay,
Yeah, I think our mandate was to report by the September meeting, so, but we're ready to go.
Yeah, the sooner the better. And if we made it last on the agenda, it'd be great because then we'd have something to look forward to after things that aren't as much fun.
So one of the things we can do too, if you do want to do it on the 8th, and at that meeting, you guys could make recommendations if you want them to do additional research, and then we can bring back a revised resolution if you want to broaden their.
Yeah.
If needed, if you want to broaden.
That's a
it,
great
bring it
idea.
Back to the September meeting.
Yeah, that's the big question
Yeah.
is what we need to do to broaden the scope of what we approved already.
okay, the 8th it is.
Bring your jammies, pillow.
Any other items? Yes.
Yes, the letter that we got regarding the increase in the lodging tax.
Right.
Have we reached out to the hotels to make any kind of clarification on that?
We received the one letter and I can't tell you if they were contacted or not. I believe that they were. But Lori's been out.
Mhm.
I'll be able to answer that question tomorrow.
Okay.
Is she back tomorrow? Because I,
Can we,
My only request is that.
Yeah.
At least whoever has a question, as long as they can get an answer.
Yeah.
And I agreed with your letter, Nancy, and then after I read it, I seemed to more agree with you, Lisa, but I can see there's a bit of ambiguity.
I think there's some room for clarification,
Yeah.
but I was waiting for Lori to get back.
yeah, I'm kind of unclear about it now. I mean, did we really give them a -2 days notice?
No,
Well, according to the ordinance, it sounds like it. I
Yeah.
mean, I think the intent was what Lori wrote was that it was effective January 1st and beyond. But the ordinance doesn't clarify that at all, doesn't give any dates whatsoever, at least that portion of the ordinance that was contained in the letter. Now, the rest of the ordinance, I don't know, but that particular portion of the ordinance doesn't have any date whatsoever, except that it's upon adoption. Well, adoption was July 11th, so it's that, I think that's where the confusion
Yeah,
is. There's just-
Absolutely.
And I just thought it was absolutely clear, right on its face. I did.
The first paragraph it's very clear. But if you look at the ordinance.
They're two separate things.
How do you read it on July 11, it
Yeah.
went into effect?
On July, any reservation made after July 11th.
But that's the problem. It's what it really, the intent was is any reservation made for January 1st and beyond.
And that's what the ordinance says.
Well, it doesn't say
But
that.
that's what we passed, that we passed it for, that it would be,
Can we get that ordinance up on the screen?
It
It
doesn't.
would be nice to have all. of
I
it.
can't remember the
Clear.
wording. I just went back and read it and it seems clear, absolutely clear on its face to
You
me.
think a -2 days notice is fine? with That for lodging?
It's
Maybe
not
We
minus,
send out something on
it doesn't go in,
the 13th and
Let's get-
on the
we
11th.
don't raise,
Let's get the ordinance on the screen.
we're not raising the tax until January.
Yeah, but that's not what that portion of that ordinance says in the letter.
Yeah,
Okay, here we go. Thank you, Rusty.
mhm.
I can't read that. So as of January 1st,
No, but what was the portion of the?
Yeah,
was
I
the
think
big-
for
it was
the
big-
next page,
B that was included.
when this ordinance is effective 30 days after adoption.
So at the meeting though, Ashley did make a statement that it is the adoption is the date that you approved it.
right?
The effect date is January.
Right, but see, what I'm saying is, when that letter was sent out, the only portion of the ordinance that was included in that letter was B. And it doesn't say anything about the January 1st. Lori did write at the top of the letter that it is effective and it's very clear. But if you look at just that B portion of the ordinance, it doesn't match what she wrote.
Adoption of ordinance codified, and then it says that it's going to be from January, or
It doesn't say.
January 1st. Yeah, the current tax of 8% should remain.
No,
in
I'm
effect
saying
until-
on the letter, it only said the B portion. It didn't include the entire ordinance. It didn't show December 31st, 2023. It didn't show,
We have the letter.
The letter that was emailed to you guys was just the letter portion. The ordinance was supposed to be an attachment to that.
so the ordinance was attached.
On the bottom of the letter, it says, I think, enclosures of the
Right.
ordinance. So
Yeah.
they received the ordinance. I was just able to grab a copy of the letter from finance. So that's what I sent to you guys.
Okay.
So that the whole ordinance was supposed to be included.
Okay.
We'll send out a correction, very
Yeah, I think-
clarification.
Can we reach out to the one person that wrote the letter? And
Ron did talk to him.
who did?
Ron.
Oh, Ron.
Ron did talk to him.
Okay.
His where he was out.
Okay.
I know they did talk.
And do you know was he satisfied? The owner?
He wanted somebody to listen to his complaint.
Yeah, that's-
His mom listened to
Yeah.
him.
Unlikely. We're gonna satisfy them,
Okay.
but,
And he told him that, Roy would be back and could get a hold of them.
Okay,
but
let's make.
is there any concern that that it says it's adopt 30 days from,
If they included the ordinance, that's fine, but I still think there should be some clarification.
I think it should, yeah, I think it should, there's enough
Well,
confusion that we just,
I mean,
it's not a big deal.
People don't read
to take something
ordinance.
out. And, as we're talking about it, there's some disagreements, so we just go ahead and send something out that just clears, nails it.
And you would send it again to all of the
Yeah.
affected property?
I think it's, yes.
Okay,
and it wasn't, our email wasn't clear that the ordinance was sent out with it. It just showed us the letter.
Yeah.
The letter was not.
yeah, I only saw the letter.
and I assumed when I first read the complaint, the letter that was sent to me, that the ordinance was not attached. And
Yeah,
why didn't we attach the ordinance? But if it was,
And we'll confirm with finance.
okay.
Yeah.
So can you keep us apprised of the situation?
We'll send out.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, we solved the world's problem?
Yay.
Any other items for good of the order? Lynn,
I can do.
you missed your public comment time?
I can tell y'all, don't leave and I have something to tell y'all. Well,
what?
I've come to several meetings and y'all talk about this short-term rental committee needs to do something. Guys, we spent 2.5 years getting a printout every time from Jeff. Jeff read over the printout, said there's nothing we can do. Boom. You're not going to get any information from the STR. We did nothing. Nothing.
It's true.
So I don't know what y'all are expecting, information y'all are expecting, but you're not gonna get it. Okay?
Thank you.
And I agree with you
Very
totally.
I just what y'all are-
So do you
No,
think,
Lynn, I was on it from the very first day of that committee, and I totally agree with you.
so Lynn, do you think the committee needs to meet?
No, because we're not gonna, what will happen is they'll print out the stats again.
Okay.
You know, well, they're still right around 200. It's okay. And then.
That's it.
So we've had some staff changes in that department.
Right.
Do you think it would be worthwhile to have the committee meet with a new staff person and get some of their insight into
The reason I don't think it will be is because of the makeup of the committee. I'm not gonna be for, oh yeah, let's have more short-term rentals. Brian's gonna say, oh, I need more rentals in the winter because the people can't quite pay for their business. It's set up for failure to start with, the composition of it. It really should be, you take public comment from people, what they want, and y'all decide what goes on. Because all we did the whole 2 years, 3 years was
Argue.
argue.
I think we could have the conversation as
We can
a
argue
discussion
here.
item and see- Yeah, we can argue about it just as well as they can.
I think the reason that the short-term committee was set up in the first place, and Brandon,
Before this council was.
yeah, was because that was the time when we put a moratorium on the 5-year rental.
Right.
On the 5-year permit. And we wanted the committee to take a look at some of the problems that short-term rentals cause, maybe some of the benefits we have because of short-term rentals. And then also make a recommendation about the 5-year permit. And the 5-year permits are starting to run out. So, you know, we as a council need to think about whether or not we want the moratorium to continue or we want to just end it permanently.
And people who are,
Half of us say one thing and the other half's gonna say the other.
people who run the short-term rental agencies want as many short-term rentals as possible, period. The people who live in the community don't want that.
Sure.
So there you are. So there's never a meeting of the minds.
I think it's interesting is that there's no moratorium on the 14-day rentals. And those haven't increased.
Well,
I think we just need to talk about it.
Sure, I just,
The council
I'm just.
And
wondering
not
why
have,
that is.
and decide then if we want
oh,
to
and.
go back
Gotcha.
or
Okay,
and look at any.
yeah, I think part of that is, well,
And then we also need to
Sure.
think about the zoning
any of them
and whether or not we want them in certain neighborhoods and not in
we have no way.
neighborhoods,
Yeah.
whether they're considered.
I've just gotten
hey guys, one
enforcement
at a time.
officer who's actually doing,
Anthony was talking first.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying, we need to look at them in terms of zoning and then the code audit. Again, here we go again with the code audit. Because are they considered commercial enterprises in residential neighborhoods? Do we want certain neighborhoods to be exempt from short-term rentals? We have a lot
We
of
wanna
that kind of
limit
discussion.
them.
Do we want to
to-
limit them? Do we want to put a cap on 14-day rentals?
Do we want to do it like I think Seaside does, where you can't have, in certain areas, you can't have more than one 14-day or one rental within a certain parameter, you know, you can't have two that are right next to each other. There's all kinds of ways of doing it. But I just,
I think we're capable of having that conversation.
Okay.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay, so we will not have a short-term rentals advisory committee meeting before we discuss it.
there's no point.
So put it on the 8th.
Maybe not. Because we're gonna wait for some. Isn't that tied to the other things that we're waiting for on TOT or not? So they're completely separate?
TLT and
Yeah.
short-term, I think there's
Okay, separate.
somewhat separate, but not necessarily so
I mean,
because
obviously, there's revenues.
the revenue,
in
yeah.
the discussion.
Right.
Oh, and there's another issue that comes up and we should think about before that we talk about short-term rentals, is their effect on the long-term rental market and on an effect on workforce housing. That has never come up one time in all the meetings that I went to on the short-term rentals.
See, and I thought that,
No,
you know, as a person sitting in the back row, thought that would be a discussion.
yeah, no, because it was dominated by opposing forces.
Okay. So any suggestions for when we'd like to have that discussion?
Why don't you let us keep doing what we're doing, which is trying to balance schedule for you,
Okay,
and we'll send it out to you after the workshop.
okay,
And that gives you what we think is going to be happening, although it always changes further out.
Right.
The next meeting always looks monstrous, and then we say, well, we can move that here, we can move that there, then they get kind of balanced.
okay. That's,
Yeah, I'm pretty confused about what's what. you know.
Yeah.
I am too.
thank you for having that spreadsheet.
Yes.
Just real quick, I did look, there is a section about the survivorship and there's specific language in there if somebody does pass away and they have to meet certain things. So that is addressed in there and it tells you how it has to transfer. And so there is that in there for the lifetimes.
Yeah, that, I remember that conversation at a council meeting many years ago, but vividly remember that
So
conversation.
that is definitely still in there.
Yeah.
And just so you guys know, I will have the packet out tomorrow
Okay,
for the August 1st meeting.
great. Okay. So anything else for good of the order? Okay, meeting's adjourned.